Well, Cole, look, coming off the back of 5,000 meters gold at the World Championships, and well, Tokyo was pretty wild for you. How's the downtime been since?
It's been nice. Yeah, I feel like can kind of take a deep breath after this year's Worlds, but for me, it kind of feels like the Olympic year and this year were one big, effort. Obviously, I took downtime last year, but I mean, they really have been blending together in my mind, and yeah, it's nice to kind of take a step back. And of course, there's a lot of racing coming up in this next year, but it is technically an off year, whatever that means. But no World Athletics Championship, I guess. So yeah, it's a good reset time right now.
So, what have you been getting up to? What's downtime actually look like?
Yeah, I guess it's like a mix of downtime where I don't have to double runs, and now I'm kind of easing back into it. But I stayed over in Japan for about a week after with my girlfriend, saw a bunch of cool things there, and then like also yeah, it's downtime, but it also is time where I can do other things like go to the Chicago Marathon and not worry about missing out on training. And yeah, I got a trip with my some of my college teammates coming up, where we're just gonna hang out and catch up, and it's just a good time to catch up on those things that you really don't have time to do during the season.
We saw you at the marathon holding the tape. It's a special
Hmm.
day for the US as well with that American record from Conor Mantz. Do you feel tempted to do one now?
uh, no, I mean, not for a while, not for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, I still can't. You would think as a pro runner, like I could get my head around what they do, but it's like it's a completely different from a middle distance standpoint to the marathon. It's just ridiculous, and I would like to do one. Hopefully, while I'm still sort of in my whatever prime window, but also like I'm never gonna leave the track until I have to. I feel like so one day,
Yeah, a long way in a distance.
Well,
yeah,
Centro, what did Centro end up with? 222?
I think
Like
so.
220?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. That's a kind of mark in the sand, isn't it? That's what an Olympic champion should be able to do at that
yeah,
point. And
yeah.
you can, yeah, yeah. Maybe that'll motivate you when you get
Y-
there.
Yeah, exactly. I think people aren't giving him credit. I think he's working like a full-time job right now. Like yeah, I mean, that was impressive.
You're saying it's felt like two continuous years. Like that feels quite intense. Is that because you just reached a whole new level last year and the attention was there and that the off season didn't feel sort of as relaxing as it would normally? Because that was pretty tough when you talk about trying to stay dialed in for 24 months.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, it has its ups and downs, and if people aren't aware by now, but I think it's pretty obvious that me and my coach peak for these big championships more so than anything else in the year. Um, so yeah, there's big peaks and valleys as far as intensity and training alone, but just coming off of a global championship, like the Olympics, and the year before was Budapest, but I think having won the Olympics, then there's all of this pressure and expectation, and it kind of changed. It was obviously a turning point in my career, um, and it was no longer like before Paris. I could make the final and kind of fly under everyone's radar and see what I could do. Now it was, the expectation to, medal at the very least, if not win. And just knowing the caliber of athletes, that's in the 1500 and the 5K, that's like no small feat. I mean, in the 1500, it's been a different champion the past, I think, 5 years now. So I think that's just a true testament to like nothing nothing is guaranteed, not even a medal. Like the medals have shifted so much. And well, yeah, kind of to answer your question, these 2 years have felt really intense because not only is there outside expectation, but now internally, of course, my goals got a lot more um, narrow. I guess it was, it's not just go and see how good I can do and see what I can pick up. No, I think personally it's I want to win, and I want to win. Now 2 events, and the goals just got a lot more narrow and a lot more lofty and harder to do. So yeah, it feels like 24 months of really intense concentration.
Do you enjoy that change in mindset, though, that you talk about there, going from the guy who probably won from under the radar, no one was expecting you to the guy who has now got all the expectation on his shoulders?
Yeah, like I always go back and forth. Well, I know where I'm at now, but for a while I was going back and forth of, it's tough, and you kind of in your mind you play these games of like at moments you're like, oh, I wish I didn't have all this expectation, but when you really think about it, that is like a real honor to have that, because you've shown people what you're capable of, and if that's greatness, then they're going to expect greatness out of you. But I think that's like the highest honor really in the sport, is to have expectation on you. And so I just constantly remind myself of that, and I never want to run from that. I want to attack that.
I remember doing an end of season break one year before the Olympics in 2012, and I was planning to take 14 days off. And 7 days in, my mum, who knows nothing about athletics, just goes, "Well, it's the Olympics next year. Shouldn't you be training?" And I was like, "Yeah, I should." It was just like you get so, every hour, every day is important. And I think, it's really interesting to hear. I think some people would think, oh, if you've won something, then the pressure's off. But it's not. Like it magnifies, and then, like you say, the event's so competitive. You'd be second guessing yourself if you weren't kind of right into that zone, kind of for the 2025 season. So it must be nice, I guess, to step off that a bit.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, like you're saying, all it takes is one comment from some either a parent or someone random, and
never listen to your mom.
And the competitor athlete brain kicks in, and you're like, oh no, I'm missing out. Like, what is everyone else doing? And it's tough. Like, it's tough to I think understand the time frame, because then at this point in the year, I think back to last October, and to be honest, like anything I was doing then didn't really make a direct impact on how I performed in Tokyo. And so I kind of remind myself, like, of course, you should never fall completely out of shape, gain a bunch of weight or anything. But in the grand scheme of things, like 12 months, it's a long time. And I think if you get a good 5 months, like that's plenty of time for anyone to get into that great shape. But yeah.
No, and I think that's like a pro mentality as well. I think when you're in college, like it's easy. You're just flipping to the next season. You're just going, bounce, bounce, bounce. But as those goals get loftier, it's like, hang on a minute. I can't dial into a world championship final for months and months. It gets super tiring.
No, exactly. And that's actually like what I tell a lot of young runners is, focus on that immediate next goal. Because and by telling younger runners that, I, reminding myself of that, because right now, like the large time frame goal is, you go really big, it's LA Olympics, and then, there's a Worlds before then, and then, this year has its own races, and then, there's an indoor track season, indoor Worlds, and then you can go even closer, and it's just so much easier if you just, what am I doing this week? What am I doing today? And just so much easier, to analyze everything, and it's too much to get your head around if you're thinking so far out.
Yeah, I'm interested to know, Cole, if you said that the last 2 years have been so intense, did you approach the start of that 2-year period thinking that it would last that long, or were you only thinking about the Olympics? And then sort of past that, you're saying, if you look forward to the next goal. So with next year being, you kind of said it already, it almost feels like a bit of a down year. How do you keep that motivation up?
Yeah, well, to answer your first question, I really had no idea. I was not going into it thinking it's gonna be a tough 2 years. No, it was like, first of all, anywhere you are, but especially the U.S. system, making that Olympic team is not guaranteed, and of course, I was one of the favorites in the 15 going into that, but I'd say Naguse was probably the favorite heading into the 2024 Olympic trials. Um, and so that was the big goal that year, just make that team. And I knew like once I got to the global stage, I've executed in the past to my liking, and that year was going to be no different. Just make that team, and that was that really big goal that year. And then, of course, after I make that, then I reassess, and the goalpost changes. But it's constantly, the goalposts are constantly changing, and I think for the better. It was like I made the 2021 Olympics, and in my mind, if I did that, then my career was set. I was like, I'm an Olympian. I'll be very happy with that. Very quickly after that, it changes to that's not enough. I want to perform well at the Olympics, not just make it. And then, of course, I thought if I win a gold medal at the Olympics, I'll be so content with my career. And I think there is still a part of that, of course. I always have that in my back pocket, but it just the psychology of the sport always kind of shocks me in a way, because I know talking to other athletes is always the same. Like I get that medal and now immediately switches to, well, how many more can I get? And what's next? And then, yeah, you're like this, I'm pretty excited about because, yeah, like I mentioned before, I always really, really emphasize the championship. And I think the downside of that sometimes is missing out on some of these really exciting diamond leagues, going for crazy fast times. Of course, I had my share of chasing some fast times, but I've never really got to emphasize that the way I wanted to. And so that's kind of how I'm approaching this year, is that I get to do those things that sometimes take a back seat to a major championship. So I'm really excited in that. And like, obviously, if you're in the sport, you know that there's going to be no shortage of races this year. There's probably going to be more athletes are probably going to be racing more frequently this year than a world's year, like kind of what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I love that. That sounds super exciting for next year. And to hear you talking like that, which had we had Georgia Hunter Bell on, and she was sort of saying 2024 was this free swing. And then she gets the bronze medal, and then suddenly 2025, the pressure's on. And it's just what you're saying. It's like instead of unlocking that next goal, your goal automatically jumps to that highest level. And that's different. That's such a different mindset. But if you look at that next year, the ability, it's almost like you can throw away that timeline. You just get in shape and then find a race. Like that's going to be so much funner than a countdown onto a major championships.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And you talked about your down season a little bit, and so you say you're getting back into training now. And I said to you, like, I have James Gormley has spent a lot of time training near me in Birmingham. He's under the same coach as you, and you guys train a little bit different. Mm-hmm. Like there's a lot of aerobic cycling in there. The track sessions are wacky. Like they look so fun. There's so many different reps. And you guys don't use altitude kind of as much as maybe some of the other pro groups. Like, when you're looking here building into the winter, like how does that look for you and you and your training group?
Yeah, exactly what you're saying. Like it's very specific. And my coach, Ben Thomas, he's got his own system. Like, and I think I've realized that there's more so that there's not one way to win a medal. There's not one way to make a global final. There's all these different systems, but there's a couple that, double threshold training, whatever, kind of, there's these philosophies that are general underlying on everyone's programs. But yeah, I've just been pretty impressed with, really my coach's ability to just believe in what he does. And that gives me a lot of confidence in it, because if he's that confident in it, then I should be too. And then these past 2 years have just been, that evidence that it's undeniable that what we're doing is working and working really well. But yeah, like it's different from a lot of other programs. Again, I think you can do it multiple different ways, but for me, this is the right way. I found the mileage that I can handle. I've found the workouts that I really respond to well. And I think most importantly, that critical period between the US championships and the global championships, I see such a jump in fitness and sharpness in that like 5 to 6 week period that, um, yeah, I just have like, as long as I'm healthy in that window, then I have so much confidence heading into a global championship. And I think, yeah, like what a blessing to have, yeah, in this career, really.
Can we talk about the idea of being a championship performer, Cole? Because this is like, you're my favorite kind of athlete. You know, the ones that do. I'm so sorry about the drilling if you can hear it in the background. There's building work going on. The kind of athletes that can turn up and not come out of nowhere, of course, especially with you guys having to go through trials in the way you do, but producing your absolute best when it matters. Like, to me, that is the purest version of this sport. How much of that for you is mindset versus how you train?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a combination of of the two. Um, but yeah, like like what I was just mentioning, the training is there. I know that. Now I've had really 2 years of uninterrupted training and builds, no injuries, no real illnesses. Really in that critical like 2 to 3 month window with like the U.S. championship build in up to the global championship. And so I'm confident in that. And then, um, yeah, switching the mental side of that is um, really tough. And I think that separates so many athletes. Just having the ability to not let that pressure of, definitely the Olympics, it's a whole different thing with everything going on. But any global championship, there's all these outside stressors and factors. And if you can just hopefully ride that energy instead of let it crush you, I think that's the name of the game. And um, every year there's something different. And I think that's how I've gone into these, is just telling myself, as cliche as it is, just expect the unexpected. But it's just so true. And then, lo and behold, I would not have ever expected that the 1500, I'd be DQ'd and that would be the way that shook out. Just not on my radar at all. But what was on my radar is that there's going to be something unexpected. And so that kind of helped me just go into it. And I was upset that night, but I just moved on, and I was fortunate to have that second race. That's not always the case, but um, yeah, I think if I stewed on that, and I've talked to a couple other publications about how just turned off social media and all this again, like I had energy, I had emotion, and I wanted to use that productively and not counterproductively, like it's so easy to do at all of these.
While we're on that, Cole, I mean, that's the trying to think what you're like in that room, sort of stewing over those emotions and trying to channel everything in the right way. I know you said you turned off social media. That seems like a sensible thing to do, but all that sort of pent up anger, what did you what did you do with it? I mean, and I also sort of wonder whether, do you sort of look at what happened in the 1500, which obviously you're frankly obviously pissed off about it because it was a decision that you didn't expect and maybe didn't agree with either. So do you almost wonder whether the 5,000 meters would have been the same outcome had it not been for what happened in the 15?
Yeah, I think so. Like I've definitely thought about that, and you know, minus the fact that I would have had another race on my legs, a championship final at that. But um, it was definitely all my eggs are in one basket, and you know, whether it was my fault or a decision, like the other opportunities were burned, and um, yeah, I just kept thinking to myself like this, I do not want this championship just to be a bust. Like, and in my mind, like no medal at all, that would have been extremely disappointing. But also with that being said, that was my first global 5K championship. And I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't really know how I was going to feel. And I had a feeling that they were going to try to run my legs off, and that happened for the most part. I think, with a K to go, everyone wanted to get in medal position, and no one wanted to burn themselves. Um, but yeah, it was with all that pent up. Yeah, I was angry, I was frustrated, but I just didn't want to like really pity myself, is what I kept telling myself, because that emotion is just, you don't want to put yourself in a hole mentally. And so I just, had to have a journal for exactly that. Like, I had thoughts, I put them down on paper, and in a way that they're cemented, like they've been laid out now, and I can kind of move on from those thoughts. And so it was just channel everything you have into that 5K final, and then hope the fitness is there. I had a good feeling the fitness was there, but you can only will your way so far. You better hope you're fit, especially against the best runners in the world. So it was a combination of all of that.
I've heard you talk about this journal before, Cole. Sorry, just before we move on from this, it's how often do you go back to it and revisit it?
Well, I have like a daily journal I do, which is just whatever it is, like whatever I do that day. And of course, if there's bigger moments, I can write about that. But I also have a training log, and there's a bunch of pages in the back where if I have a big race and my mind is getting overwhelmed, I just try to write it down in there. And really, it's a lot of affirmations and manifesting, and it's sometimes really really nice to look back and see what I wrote down. And before that 5K, I would just force myself to write down, like, I can win this, I can win this. I probably wrote that 20 times in different ways. And then just the fact that comes to fruition, it's always special. And not everything I write down happens, but when it does, it feels pretty great.
No, and I was, obviously, we thought a lot about you that week in Tokyo. It was dramatic. We were all working out there, and what was unfolding. And I remember thinking, if you were going into the 8, it would be easier. But you're going into an event where there's a lot of time to think in a 5K. Even in that final, were you able to totally block out that 15 and the disappointment there, and focus on the task in hand, or was it still a blend, perhaps, of the two outcomes that had happened?
I think on the start line, I was still kind of thinking, like, pretty much don't mess this up. Mainly of the prelim. Like a 5K prelim is torture, kind of like a prelim is already, everyone's kind of, I guess skittish. I don't know, for lack of a better term, but no one wants to commit. No one wants to, commit too hard. Everyone wants to save energy, but you're running a race, and we ended up running like 13:13, I think, and that's a hard effort. I don't care who you are.
It was pretty quick, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I remember it being quick.
Yeah. And so, all those thoughts are going through my head, like, just make this final, and then worry about all those thoughts later. But as far as the final, as soon as that gun went off, like, I didn't think about anything else. And I think that's like a really nice, great aspect of running and sport in general. When you're in an intense moment like that, nothing else matters, and you're like truly present and in the moment. And at that point, that 13 minutes of running, all I was thinking about is, one lap at a time, and stay connected, focus on the race strategy, and, come away with a medal. And I wasn't thinking about anything else. No one watching, wasn't thinking about what the comments were on my Instagram. Like, it was, that's like the best way to run, if you can just block all that out.
So what was it like winning it then, claiming a gold medal at the World Championships? But also, I wonder, you said you could block out all the noise during the race, but the way it was phrased in articles after was using words like vindication and triumph, redemption. Yeah, like the redemption tale that we absolutely love in sport and probably overuse. Did you think of it like that?
Well, yeah, I'll clarify. I guess the entire race, I wasn't thinking about it until the last 100 meters. And then I was like, I'm really gonna win this.
Yeah.
Nice.
I started thinking
Big
about my
celebration.
celebration 90
Yeah.
meters out. Yeah, and I just, was still fully in the moment, but I crossed that line and, I was just like, to whoever, I was like, take that. Like that's what I needed. And yeah, it was like the only way to truly redeem how the 1500 went for me. And so yeah, a lot of emotion there, probably more so than maybe any other race I've had finishing. And yeah, it was a pretty awesome moment. But yeah, definitely the last 190 meters, I was thinking about it like, all right, like I can actually win this.
And I'm wondering, we look at taking Olympic gold last year and that story in Tokyo and the mental resilience it took to do both of those things. If we put the fitness you've got right now in Cole Hocker of 2021, like could you have coped with this? Or the scenarios that have unfolded this year and the pressure and taking that gold last year? Or is that something you feel like you grew into at this stage in your career?
Yeah, I think every year has been completely different as far as the way, like the emotions surrounding the races going into it. Um, so yeah, I think like in my mind, every year so far, my pro career has been a completely different um, mental step. And yeah, this year was completely different. And I'm not sure. I'd like to think I could handle it. Yeah, however, whatever year it happened, but um, you know, to be honest, I didn't make, I tried to make the 5K team last year at USA's and I didn't make that. So, that alone showed me that I was a step ahead of where I was fitness wise, but also mentally, because that was such a big block in my mind of just, the 5K is a completely different race. And, I'm a middle distance runner. That's always going to be a huge step. But, yeah, qualifying for that team just showed me, the caliber of guys that I had to beat out to make that team and to win that race showed me like, oh, well, I can definitely medal if not win this.
You mentioned that disappointment of not making the team before, Cole. You sort of silenced any critics who maybe doubted you over 5,000 meters because, your success in the 5K relative to the 15 before Tokyo wasn't obviously quite as big. And I just wonder how much you had heard of that and whether it had bothered you. And that was also part of something that really played into Tokyo because then you come out and prove it all on the biggest stage.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like more so I was kind of not upset, but I wanted to prove more in the 5K. And I think anyone that was, watching had the right to think, like, yeah, I'm not like a real player because I hadn't really proved it. So yeah, it wasn't, I think that's fair to assume going into that. I think maybe if you're a Cole Hocker fan, you knew not to count me out and that I wouldn't be going into a race not to win it. Um, but yeah, like I done, yeah, I think it was my first 5K at a Diamond League in Stockholm, and it went pretty bad to be honest. And I think a lot of that was the fact I went over there and I really do not do well with jet lag, and just something I learned over the past few years of my pro career. And um, yeah, I got like completely destroyed in that. And um, those same guys were racing in Tokyo. So I guess just looking at that and looking at the field, and yeah, maybe I wasn't a threat. But yeah, I think now having that and being one of 5 athletes in history to win a 1500 and a 5K global championship, yeah, I don't know what more evidence you need. Like I'm going to be a threat regardless. And yeah, it feels pretty good now to have that.
I'm really enjoying putting you under the microscope here and asking you these questions. We can stop psychoanalyzing you soon. But the other element for me, if I look at your 2024 and your 2025 season, there's very few wins in there. It's US trials and Olympics last year, and then this year similar, US trials and the world champs. And that how do you maintain that self-belief? I feel like other athletes would sort of panic. We look back at that Grand Slam track season Other athletes, you feel like they'd sort of panic and pull the trigger on some more specific work to try and get some confidence from it. But yeah, you've mentioned, some of the aspects of that with peaking and training, but mentally, how do you cope with perhaps performing at a level below your aspirations for a lot of the year?
Yeah, it can be pretty frustrating. Like, yeah, if you haven't picked up on it by now, like I hate losing and I love winning. So anytime, like even if the race, whatever, doesn't matter, like every race matters that we're doing at this level. But maybe some of those early season races, um, it's tough to go in that knowing that I'm not as sharp as I can be, and I'm definitely not as fit as I can be. Um, but that's the sport. Like everyone has ebbs and flows, and my coach is really good about keeping a level head. Like he's not rattled at all. We've like at those Grand Slams, he was pretty much happy to get them over with. Of course, like he prepped me for them for where we were in the season, but um, I think some athletes might come back to their coach and be like, "What happened?" But he was just like nice, like that was great. We got a really good 800 effort in. We got I still was like top three in every 1500. So I think that those fields, like that's still pretty telling. Like they were decent races, but yeah, not winning any of those sucked. Um, and yeah, I just had to keep it moving on and remember what the ultimate goal was. And like I always want to win these, and you don't want to in the moment take away from the value of each of these races, but a lot of the time it comes back to like, would you rather win Tokyo or win Melrose?
Yeah.
And it's usually an easy question in hindsight, but in the moment it's really tough.
I was going to say, in the moment, like how much do you rely on Ben Thomas for that, or the other people? How much do you lean on those around you, sort of in those other times of the year, to kind of keep you accountable and keep reminding you not to overanalyze, I guess, sort of some of those
Yeah,
performances.
yeah, it's a pretty small group, like who you can talk to about that. Like my family understands how it works. My coach and my teammates get it. Outside of that, it's like, yeah, there's not really too many people you can talk to about it. So, yeah, it's good to have that group. And also just I'm at the point now in my career where if you looked at this season compared to last year, I was really ahead of where I was. Um, I ran faster at Prefontaine than I did in 2024. Um, And yeah, there was a couple other benchmarks, like benchmark workouts, I guess, where I was running either the same time and feeling better or running faster. Um, and so I just knew my fitness was actually above where it was in 2024, even a couple months out from the championship. So I would just stay healthy and you're going to run better than you ever have. And, obviously not making that 15 final uh, was unfortunate for a lot of reasons, but that's also like I know I was in better shape than I was in Paris. So I was really excited to run that, and I hadn't really run a 15, sharp at this peak fitness the entire year. So I'm excited to kind of redeem that in 2026, race some more 15s. But yeah.
I'm about to say something quite stupid, but like the other bonkers thing here, Cole, is that like you are only 24 as well, but it kind of feels like you've been around for ages. I don't know if you guys agree. It sort of feels like you've had this kind of real role in this event. But then I was thinking about the 1500 generally and like where it is right now. I think between the three of us, probably the event we talk about the most, isn't it? Because we just get so buzzed by everything going on.
And off air. Like, come to breakfast with us lot, we're still talking about
but then you see the younger guys coming through, like Niels de Ross and stuff like that coming through as well. So I just wonder, I don't really have a question. It was more a kind of remark on your age.
I guess it's more of that, isn't it? Because you're only 24, Cole, but because there seems to be so many more added to the mix all the time that it feels like it feels like you're the experienced campaigner now.
Yeah. No, you're not the first people to say that. And, yeah, I obviously feel like now I've been pro for a while. I mean, that's part in like due to the fact that I only did 2 years at university and just went fully pro after that. So I got a early start, and compared to like a lot of US athletes who do 4 to 6 years at this point. But yeah, I'm super happy with the, that I did make that decision. But it changes quick. Like 2021, Tokyo, I was the youngest one in that final. Um, Younger than Yaka by like a few months, but I was still younger.
Yeah, not much.
Splitting
So
hairs.
still the youngest one. But and then now fast forwarding to Paris and Tokyo this year. Um, I'm not old yet, but I'm not the youngest. Like, and it's crazy how it changes. And now, like, I don't know how old like Cam Myers is. I don't even know if he's 20 yet,
12.
but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, 15 or 16, yeah. And that, yeah, Laros and these guys, like Laros isn't just the young prodigy running good for his age. He was the favorite heading into the 15 this year, um, from a lot of people. So yeah, it's like you can't write off anyone, and also you can't let off the gas because next year there's going to be some kid that no one's heard about that's popping up and and mixing up the scene. So yeah, you got to keep your foot on the gas, and especially just knowing how the NCAA system works here, like you never know who that's going to produce, but it's going to produce really legit competitors. And I think just the way that the US is going right now too, like maybe 5-10 years ago, like making it to the US final as a collegiate was like you're really doing it. Now it's like, can you make a world final as a collegiate? And it just, again, another example of the goalposts just changing, and obviously for the better. But as the pro, I guess, veteran now, it's like you just got to always be aware that you can't get too comfortable.
But because there's so many contenders at the moment, Cole, there are so many different kinds of personalities in here as well. And I mean, I think you're a sports fan, right? We'd love to see rivalries on the field and off it as well, with the words that are spoken. You actually followed like a similar trajectory to someone like Jakob Ingebrigtsen. I know you're only a few months apart. He had his own redemption, didn't he, at the World Championships in Budapest, where he had disappointment in the 15 and then won the 5 as well. But he's a completely different character to you. We loved in the build up to the Olympics, the attention around Josh Kerr and Jakob and exchanging words. We love that kind of thing. Do you kind of sometimes sort of bite your tongue and think, oh, I'd like to have a go at that. I'd like to get involved, but I'm just going to step back and watch it all instead.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sometimes it's nice. Like, first of all, like, I don't know, like, I think one aspect that is making the 1500 and middle distance so interesting is the different personalities and how, they all mesh. And when the gun goes off,
Or clash.
yeah, yeah, everyone clashes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Maybe not mesh, but yeah, like I mean, 2024 was easy to stay out of it because I wasn't even included. Like no one was talking about me, so I was like, yeah, I'll let these guys go at it. And I think it's good though. Like I don't know, I understood why each of them had something to say, and we're all competitors, but kind of a lot of time goes back to like where I want to put my energy. And if you got to speak up for yourself, obviously you should do that. But you just got to know, like, is it worth your energy? And then, a lot of the time it doesn't end. It doesn't ever end when you make a comment to put an end to something. I mean, not only will the person respond, but 1,000 other people online will respond. And obviously those don't carry, you got to not let those carry too much weight, but it really never ends, and you're not going to have one finishing statement ever. So, yeah, in my mind, I just like, whatever.
I don't know. I feel like a gold medal is quite a good finishing statement, isn't it?
That's what I
It's like,
think. Yeah.
bam.
Yeah. No, you're right on that. Yeah. Like if anything's going to put an end to it, it's the real race. But also it never ends, and there's the next world championship. Like the sports world, I think every sport, but especially track, the attention span or the memory is so short. Like you can have these accolades, you can stack them up, but it'll immediately go to like, well, who's winning now? Who's going to win this one? So it's never really over.
Yeah, we're not going to start building up the rivalry between yourself and Robert Farkin now or something, Cole.
October, let's start. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I'm just curious. Just last point on that, I guess. Like, do you follow all the trash talking and stuff? Like, do you sort of look at it and have a chuckle, or just not even look at it?
I don't like seek it out, but
You haven't got Google alerts on.
no, I'm on social media, and just the nature of what you're interested in. If you're interested in track, it knows that, and it's in the algorithm is going to put that in your face. So sometimes it's impossible to avoid. But yeah, I definitely stay off the forums like Let's Run, but yeah, I don't try to look at it.
Can we talk about your race tactics, Cole? Because it's one you've talked about a lot, but you're known for hugging the rail. It makes sense, shortest distance. A lot of people talk about being boxed in as a negative. It's something we've talked about a lot on this podcast, because very early on when we started, we only launched in June. We had a sports scientist on. He's one of the leading sports scientists in the UK. And he was talking about being boxed in isn't really the thing that actually, you get a massive advantage from that. And then you can just pull away at the end. Something that Hannah, as a 15 athlete as well, completely disagrees with.
I agree with hugging the rail.
Despite the fact that he demonstrated that actually when she won silver at the World Championships, he thought that's what happened to him, to Hannah, sorry. But what is is it a conscious decision to do that all the time? Do you sort of have a race plan right in place that you kind of have A, B, C goals? I mean, talk us through it.
Yeah, I think that's more appropriate how you were saying ABC goals. Like almost never the race plan is stay on the rail and like the entire race. Like sometimes it's find the rail, obviously just based on logic, that's the shortest line. But there's a lot that plays into it. Like, who do you want to be behind? You got to look for those windows. You got to understand what style of race it is. Obviously, it's a lot easier to go to the rail on a time trial Diamond League style race than it is a championship, and definitely maybe like a semifinal where everyone's bunched up. But like, I think just isolating examples is always like doesn't show the full picture, because say you try to run around the outside and the inside opens up, then everyone will be like, why didn't you just stay on the inside? It would have been way shorter. So I think as long as you're winning, then that's the strategy. But yeah, as far as it goes for me, like it all changes like based on the race. A lot of the time it's a similar strategy. Usually, get behind the right guys and run the shortest distance, and then I just trust on my ability to kind of navigate that in the last 200 meters most of the time. And, I feel like it's worked like 49 out of 50 times. So I don't know.
I used to feel like there's a certain like calmness on the rail. Like you're
Yeah.
not actually defending as many sides as it. I don't know. I used to feel like if I could get on the rail, then you're basically only thinking about what's happening with the person in front of you. You're not having to watch as many different dynamics and as many different moves. And like you said, like if you take those opportunities, if there's a gap, you got to take it. Like I'm a big advocate of running on the rail. So
There we go.
Yeah, there's been like so many of us through the years. I would have debates with like Nick Willis about it, with Chris O'Hare. We used to debate about like you can do it, but you have to do it well. And I think you do it very well. For the
yeah. To add to that, like I'm comfortable there. And so if you can find a place where you're comfortable in a race, that's like half the battle. Last thing you want to be doing is panicking like ever in a race, let alone like the whole time. So I think a lot of people can write it off because they're not comfortable there, and that's just a personal thing. So yeah.
As long as you've got an exit strategy, isn't it? Like you say, you've got to have an ABC. What's the race? Yeah, what's happening? Have it.
Yeah, exactly.
I like it, and people think I'm mad. People think I'm
yeah. And honestly, if you look at the 5K, like there's a time and a place to abandon that, and took it as long as I could. And in that specific race, it was till 400 meter. Like, I don't think I could have taken it any further on the rail. Like 400 meters to go, I was like, all right, I got to get out of here. Like, I got to go around some people, but this is the only way to the front.
Are there 15 or 5K guys that you've watched growing up, Cole, that you sort of tactically admired, that you sort of tried to base some of your own running off of?
Yeah, I always say Centrowitz was my probably main inspiration growing up. That was the first real Olympics I was keyed in on. I was 15 when he won. So that was like right around the time, like I'm in high school, and yeah, I knew London was going on, but I wasn't like, I didn't have my runners picked out that I was paying attention to. So yeah, he was big, and he was always admired for, well, still is, for his like savviness and how tactically good he was. And I think like if you really know track, you know how much of a thing of beauty that 2016 1500 final was. Like, these are the fastest men over 1500 in the world, and he held him off for 400 meters. Like, that's still like one of my favorite races. Yeah, him for the 15, and like, I really like Galen Rupp, who's still going. I just saw him, yes, in Chicago, and he's still crushing it, which is insane. But yeah, those are probably the two guys that I really watched.
So when you plan like tactics for a race, like how much do you look at the guys you're racing and their strengths and weaknesses, or is it more instinctual than that? Is it quite pointed based on who you're racing?
Yeah, it's usually at this level, it's about who you're racing, like, and kind of trying to figure out where they are in their season. You can really see, and that's another kind of advantage of not doing like 4 diamond leagues leading up to the World Championship, is that no one really knows where my fitness is. And that's partially by design, partially because it's hard to get over to Europe from the US and back and forth. But just have a good feel, and my coach almost always identifies like the key players and who it's going to be. Like, it was Camelli is who we had to beat in the 5K, and we just kind of knew that based on how these diamond leagues had been going. And I could tell like he was a really strong finisher, and that's what it takes to win the championship. Obviously there's other players in there that you're like, oh, they're always solid here, but yeah, it's a big part of it is identifying where people are in fitness, like maybe mentally where they are. Yeah, like you can kind of sense, like, I don't know, if someone's desperate to make something happen, if someone's really confident in what they're doing. But yeah, you got to have a good feel for that.
Conscious of your time, Cole, but we've got a few things we just want to rattle off, especially Grand Slam track, because it was the first year of it, and we don't know if there's going to be another one. Did you enjoy that experience though, and the fact that you got some, that you got more races to not have to, with no pacemakers, more sort of championship style racing to sort of hone your craft? What did you make of it all this year?
Yeah, outside of it goes without saying, everyone wants to get paid for what it was. But the actual events were awesome. I think, especially the US ones, and hindsight's 2020, but Miami and Philly were probably the best US races I had been to outside of maybe the Olympic trials. Yeah, those are really awesome. And coming off that Olympic year, I think a lot of people were slow to get fit, and having those really early was like a real test. But everyone was kind of in the same boat. Like, yeah, everyone wanted to make the most of it and run it smart. And having no pacers out there was pretty unique to do, like, in a regular season meet. And I think it's great to have a balance, like a time and place for people are really drawn to diamond leagues because those are awesome to watch people hunt down world records, and it's got the prestige behind it. And I think the same can be said about Grand Slam. It's just like a different thing, and I really think it's great for the sport in general to have, two or more competing, organizations that are facilitating these races, and just makes it really exciting. And like as an American, I have bias to like some more professional meets on American soil. So
Mm.
I would love to see it stick around. I think, why would you pray for the downfall of, something that's feels like it's lifting the sport up? Of course, like you got to figure some things out, but I really enjoyed racing those. Like, yeah, it was tough to get on the horse that early in the year, but it was good to race. Like, I think like 4 world champions in one race, like with Wignoni, Arop, uh, me and Josh Kerr. That's pretty cool to have.
Well, Marco, when he came onto this podcast, actually, we asked him, if they got everything sorted in terms of if everyone was paid this year, and that finally all came through, and some investment came through. The difficulty from the outside point of view is like you go, well, do you want to sign up for that again? Because you kind of want next time you're going to want assurances in there, right? And you need to know the money exists. But he was like, you know what, I'd do it again because that event was so good. What sort of mindset are you in with that? If in that scenario, I mean, there's a lot that has to happen for it to come back, but I would
I
like
don't
to
know.
see it.
Yeah, no, I would like to see it come back. Whether I signed, like, I actually signed on as, guaranteeing to be at every race. Um, but yeah, if the schedule makes sense, like, yeah, I'd love to do it to uh, some regard, like maybe one or two, or what I think a year like this coming year actually would have been perfect for it to happen. So yeah, we'll see. Like, I think it fits in a lot easier in an off year than Olympic and World Championship years. Yeah, however, you got to guarantee that money.
So, world cross country, what are we saying? How are we feeling? In the future sometime?
Possibly, yeah. I'm on the fence right now. Yeah.
You shouldn't, because Tallahassee is the best place in the world.
No,
I went
yeah.
to, other
Is
than
that right?
Birmingham, obviously. I'm a big Birmingham
Is that right? Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is.
Neither is Birmingham, Hannah.
No, wouldn't be on
This is
most
so
people's
wrong.
top
This
list.
is so wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah. This year's it's very tempting, and like I'm more inclined to do a 2K relay, but it's coming up really soon, and looking at the season in a whole, I don't know. I really have to rush into fitness to put my best foot forward, and I don't just want to show up there and just to do it. And yeah, sounds like every American athlete is coming out of the woodworks for this because it's like on American soil. So it's
Well,
like I
and
gotta get in shape to beat Connor Mance, who's coming off of a 2:04 marathon. Like,
Yeah.
come on, like that's
can
a
we
daunting
try
task.
and can we try and say like Jess Hull was trash talking? And I mean, she's not really a trash talking type, but if we kind of say, dear, Jess Hull's doing the big sell for the Australian team, like
Oh yeah, yeah,
we need everyone to get this right. Neil Gorley is all over whether the Brits can beat everyone. Like, yeah,
oh
we just
wow,
got to
yeah.
rile up the troops.
Yeah.
No, it would it does I love the concept. It'd be awesome. Yeah, and I think yeah, Jess did it last year. Yeah, yeah, that does sound fun.
Do you like the idea of the Winter Olympics, Cole?
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, it would be completely. I don't know what maybe teams of. I don't know if they announced any like logistics, but like teams of
It's just an
three
idea
or
at the
like
moment, I think. But
yeah.
I just wonder how you think it would split up the sort of the planning instead of 4 year cycles and the intense 2 years that you've just had, just to have another gold medal to target another time of year. It'd be cool.
Yeah, it would be very cool. And I think like cross country is it's different. Like you just build that, base, and um it's not as much like it doesn't really get in the way, I feel like, as much as other things that like are possibly being introduced. So yeah, I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah. Before we finish, Cole, you said this is a downtime now. What do you do in your spare time? If we got this right, you like your music, right? And
Mm.
you are on Spotify under a pseudonym. I think I listened to what you've done yesterday. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
So are you back in doing something like that? Because we'd love to see some sort of
Have you
collab with
blown his
Mondo
cover there,
Duplantis.
Rich?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Have you blown Cole's cover?
Well,
You're
I'm just
like
trying.
an
I'm just trying to make.
undercover
I'm just trying to make sure we get this sort of set up with Mondo, like at some point over this off season.
yeah, no, because I make a lot like yeah, to answer your question, I've been cooking up recently. Like in the right now I've had like a good 3 weeks being back home and yeah, not running nearly as much as normal. And I'm actually I'm in the process of posting another song to Spotify, hopefully in like the next 2 weeks. So good timing to bring it up. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
no,
Plug it. Tell us how to find it.
yeah, it's called Davidge with two V's. It's my middle name, um, but yeah, I only got one song on there right now. I have a SoundCloud, but that's mainly just where I put stuff that like mostly finished. But yeah, I'm trying to drill down on that a little bit more. And I know, yeah, Mondo's the vocalist. I just produce really. So I could see a collab in the future.
Could there be more? Are there more, Cole? Like, who do you know that you could sort of all pull together? Because yeah, we'd love to see it.
Yeah, I feel like oh, I'm forgetting. I feel like yeah, I was heard someone recently in kind of in the track world, track adjacent that had, yeah, but it's not coming to mind right
Jazz
now.
Jazz Sawyers is a good
Yeah,
singer.
she
You
is.
can get Jazz
Okay,
She's
on.
on The Voice.
yeah, okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
she's on our
that's
Yeah,
British
Sawyer's
Voice.
on The Voice. So there we go.
that's crazy. That's probably above my level. I don't know.
If you need some vocals, Jazz.
Yeah, yeah, that would be cool.
We'll see if we can
Well,
hook you up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll get talking
yeah.
to Jazz. But Cole, like, thank you so much for your time. It's like an absolute privilege for us to have you on the pod. I was a Cole Hocker fan, but if you don't like Tallahassee, I'm going to have to go away and think about it.
Yeah,
Just tell her you like Birmingham and everything will be
Yeah,
okay.
all right. If you can like one of my two favorite cities, then I might get. But obviously, in a very competitive event as well, it is awesome to have all of you guys fighting it out. So yeah, it's been wonderful to have you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Yeah, this has been great.